from Shannon. Good afternoon, everyone. Remembrance for the life of Winston Miles. Jeremiah 29 verse 11 says, "For I know the plans that I have towards you, says the Lord. They are plans for good and not for disaster, to give you a future and hope." As we reflect on the man, the father, the grandfather, friend and brother, Winston Miles, I can't help but be transported through the abyss of time as I read and listened to each person's unique memory. Indeed, God had a plan for his life. His children and grandchildren and those close to him know that it was probably his wife who called him Winston. We called him Pop, and others referred to him as Father, Whiskey, or Mass Whiskey. Why Whiskey? Well, that remains a mystery. His children will rise up and call him blessed, because unlike what is happening in our society today, he never abandoned his family. Pa was there for all 14 of his children. Yes, he outlived 3, but 11 is still enough to sing his praises. Today, I will mention a few memories from his children. We would be here all day if I was to share everything, so I will just share a few. They all share the sentiment of how hardworking he was. He was up before the crack of dawn, going to work his ground or the field of others. People trusted him to work their lands, plant, reap, and give them their share. He epitomizes integrity, as no one would ever say that he robbed them. As we reflect through the eyes of his children, we will see the man they saw. One of Auntie Iwanie's most precious memory was during the time she was running a small business in White Hill. Pa would come every evening to keep her company until she closed business in the night. Then he would ensure that she is safely home. He would wait until she went inside, then ask, "Everything okay?" before he left. Auntie Iwanie's word was, "Pa, in life, I love you dearly. In death, I still love you. In my heart, I hold a place that only you can fill." As long as Pa was able, he would be in the field with Auntie Jennifer. I tell you, I have never met a woman as hardworking as she is for her family, and she is what I would like to attribute, as she is, and I would like to attribute that is to the type of father that she had. Now, Auntie Desiree says, "My special memory of my father is how he was a lover of sweet potato pudding. Whenever his wife baked any pudding, he would often force her to cut the pudding in the night. His exact words was, "When you not cut the pudding, no two whole man not sleeping here tonight." We would all chuckle as we all wanted a little piece of the pudding. My father was a very kind man. He would always share his produce with members of the community, especially his grandkids and children whenever they came by. This is what Auntie Valerie had to say. "In a world where heroes come and go, well, God just took the only one I know." I have so many memories of my dad. It would take me years to tell them all, but these two stand at the forefront of my mind. I remember when I went to give birth to my first son. I was young, so my dad and mom was there from the Saturday morning up until 10:45 p.m. Saturday night when I gave birth. The following Sunday, I was preparing to go home, but started hemorrhaging and fainted. My dad ran all the way from Magati to Carisbrook to get taxi in less than 30 minutes and took me to Black River Hospital. Last year, when he got sick, I was at his bedside and telling him how I loved him and reminding him how he had saved my life by running from Magati to Carisbrook to get transportation. He told me he cried all the way. It tears my heart out afresh, the love my dad had for his kids. My dad raised all 14 of us without a skill. He only had a machete and a pair of water boots. But I can't recall a day or night we didn't have food. He worked from sun up to sundown to ensure that food was always on our table. He loved and cared so much when we became adults and lived separately from him that if we washed and put our clothes outside and was not home, he would go from Ione to Jennifer to my home and take them up before it rained. We could rely on him. Before he allowed rain to wet them, he would take them up half dry. Even though we were adults, if we went out at night, my dad would never sleep until we were home. I had to walk through his yard to go to mine and knock on his door and tell him, "Pop, we're going up now." And he would reply, "Okay, Jennifer, them come home too." And I would reply and then go home. My dad was loved by everyone, but he had one problem. As he felt a little pain, he would say, "Lord, me I go dead. Whoa, me not live this morning." I remember one night he was sick and he cried, "Lord, me I go dead. Whoa, me not live this morning." So when I got up in the morning, he was outside. I saw him and I said to him, "Pop, how you say you not live this daylight?" He replied, "If the night did longer, me would have dead." Dad, they say there is a reason. They say time will heal, but neither time nor reason can change the way I feel about you. Gone are the days we used to share, but in my heart, you are always there. The gates of memories will never close. I miss you more than anybody knows. Auntie Jeannie's reflection. He says, excuse me. My father was the doctor for all of us. The last time I can remember I had an asthma attack and transportation was not frequent. He walked from Grove Hill to Magati with 11-year-old me on his neck so I could get medical care. At night, when I used to have asthma attacks, he would use lamp oil to rub my chest. He taught all of us to work hard and to be honest. He also taught us to have manners. He was very protective of us. Auntie Yvette's thoughts. It is with a heavy heart that I am here writing these memories of Pa. I have so much to say about him that I could go on and on. Pa, you were not just a father, but a caring father who stood by your 14 children through thick and thin. There was never a dull moment around you, and people in the community can attest to that fact. I remember in 2019, I had to do a surgery, and when I told Pa about it, he was in no peace until I returned. The day when I was out of the hospital and Pa saw the car, he ran, yes, literally ran to the car and said, Yvette, I prayed for you. When he got ill, and though we thought he was not going to make it, I told him after he got better that I was praying for him. Unfortunately, we are here today to celebrate his life. But I know that there will be a day when death will be no more. I am looking forward to the blessed day when Jesus will step forward and call his children, when heartache and crying shall be no more. Love you, Pa. His boys, Uncles Clifton, Ian, Cleon, O'Neill, and Kenroy, all had one thing to say in common, and that was Pa was a hard worker. Well, O'Neill thought he was very smooth with the ladies, something he inherited. And man, did he have a sense of humor, a colorful imagination that light up anywhere he was. You do know that I can't go listing all the grandchildren. Even they too had plenty to say. But I believe that worth mentioning is Monique. She was his nurse and traveling companion. They shared a special bond that none of us can rival. So here I go trying to summarize all that we had to say. 1, he was always telling us dopey stories. And the stories were always about what happened to him. Then he would challenge us to go outside, knowing that we as grandchildren were very afraid. Another thing is that he always had icy mint. And then later, in my time, it was icy mint. Later on, it turned to mint balls. And he always had them in his pockets. And we could be sure to get icy mint or mint ball from him. And we always look forward to it. He was a very hard worker, but very kind. He never reaped everything from his field, especially sweet potato. He would tell us grandkids which field we could go in search of leftovers. And that's the boys, of course, because a lot of times the girls did not go to the fields. Well, Ricardo always laughed when this man used to lotion. When Ricardo reflected, he said it always appears as if he was trying to rub off his skin, because when he was lotioning, he lotioned so vigorously. Another special memory was how Pa would always carry us to bush, as well and down to Katy Bottom when we were young. We would always go to bush with him whenever we were in the country. It was always exciting for us to thread through the bush alongside him. Upon passing any fruit tree, my grandfather would fling stone or anything he would find to shake down some fruits for us. I always admired his strength. He was really a strong man, a very strong man. We all have some special connection to him, one way or another. For some, it is quite personal, and we wouldn't want to share it in this setting. But one thing we can all agree on is that we all love him, perks and all. Let me leave you with this quote from the book Education by Ellen G. White that I believe speaks of this man. The greatest want of the world is the want of men. Men who will not be bought or sold. Men who in their inmost souls are true and honest. Men who do not fear to call sin by its right name. Men whose conscience is as true to duty as the needle is to the pole. Men who will stand for the right though the heavens fall.